This is the second part of the podcast where we are covering a different aspect of looking at the new generation's view on values. If the first one was about Anand's point of view about how he perceives values and its importance in today's generation, where he has taken us through quite a few examples of how he's managed through sticking to his core value system. Uh, an interesting reason why we are doing the second part is looking at uh, what makes people like Anant hold on to these values. Is it very, since we've been talking of personal happiness in the last episode, uh, but he also did set the context in the very first answer, I think, where he covered the aspect of we are social beings and we need to think about everyone. Uh, so, by everyone, I think at the very onset, it would be our immediate family and friends and people whom we are closest to. So, do they also impact our thinking? And since it also pertains to that aspect that we had covered uh, in the episode on parenting. So, Anand, thank you for allowing us to do this episode as well.
Mhm.
Uh, my question to you is, as a person, um, first and foremost, do you have friends who are unlike you, who are very um, impetuous, who go with the grain during that moment, and they may suffer or may not, depending upon whatever their lot is. But they would, yeah, let's do it, and then we'll figure out how to go about it or not. So, how would you look at something like that? Uh, do you
I,
have friends?
I definitely do have friends who are more impulsive, who uh, exhibit less of a calculated nature while looking at important decisions. And sometimes it pays off for them as much as sometimes being calculated and overly careful about a situation pays off for us. But I'm grateful to be surrounded by friends who, like me, are willing to learn from their experiences despite their personalities being guided by different levels of impulsiveness.
Okay. So, Jada, how much role do you think that parenting plays in bringing up kids uh, in the fashion that he just mentioned, where a person is so sure about letting go of small term happiness and pursue the long term goals? It's almost so mature in its intent. And if I dare say it, I think our generation might also struggle at times holding on to this point of view. We are also very uh, impulsive and let's just do it and let's see this later. So, how do you see parenting play a role, or maybe what kind of upbringing would, would possibly help in having grounded uh, next gen, if I were to call them?
I mean, clearly going by what Anant has been sharing with us, I think his he's been very largely influenced by the values that his parents have placed on him, and uh, and I think clearly it's also about him not being told what is expected, but probably him picking up what he's observed his parents do or conduct themselves in a certain way. So I do feel. Uh, Up until a certain cutoff point, if I may say, whether you're a teenager or getting into your later years, I think the values that one's parents would instill plays a big role. But I think the beauty here with somebody like him is he's gone out there, he's is being he's staying by himself here in the UK. I think the beauty here, I would probably say he's still been able to hold on to those values as much as he sees things around being diluted, values being compromised. I think he recognizes those things, but if I may say this, it may have not always been easy to hold on to those values as well. So it does seem to be something really strong and solid as a foundation for him to build upon.
Okay. So a very quirky question on this one. Do your friends see you as boring?
Do my friends see me?
As boring?
Oh no, not at all.
Yeah. Okay. So there is no challenge on that front. This was not a.
No, in terms of humor and hobbies and interests, we're all like-minded, so we get along well. That
Okay. I have one question leading on to that. So when you are trying to pick your friends, either the ones that you grew up with or what you may make in your journey as you go along, are there any specific values or traits that you tend to look out for? Uh,
uh, so this comes from my upbringing by my parents as well, where they emphasize the need to seek friends who give you opportunities to grow, whom you can look up to, who lead by example in certain ways, from whom you can learn certain personality traits. But you should also strike the perfect balance between friends who can show you the way, but also friends who are humble in doing so and who don't put you down while showing you aspects of yourself that you can improve upon, and also friends who validate you by looking at you and looking at behaviors and habits that they can imbibe.
Uh, uh, sorry. Did you have friends who were always older to you in age?
Mm,
That's so.
no, for the most part, I've always had friends from my own class in terms of studies, so they've always been my age.
Okay. Now another question is it so easy to decide who your friends are going to be? Because a lot of experiences sometimes are overwhelmingly um, flamboyant. So my question to you specifically is about um, I have formed a lot of relationships during school and college on the basis of some fun times, some picnics, where, and I'm not even talking about the fun times in the sense of gregarious and big things. It could be just that you and I were on a hike and we were among 30 people and we just decided that we would walk this stretch together and we share a story that makes us friends of a deeper nature. Um, so in that case, um, how does one define uh, this sharing of value systems or finding people who have depth over a period of time? So on the surface of it, uh, you may feel that this person uh, is quite deep, but say 3 days down the line, you realize everyday life is is different. It's just that you are out of your setting and you are in a place which is like the movies. They have those on a journey, they fall in love. Very often, I've had this thought to myself at the ending of the movie, and now the journey starts. It's not the end. They've been having other kind of clashes where you have rich versus poor or other kind of issues. Similarly, I'm saying not necessarily male female, but any kind of friendship, any kind of rapport. How does one go around choosing friends of a certain mindset? Does that happen like that at all?
It isn't definitely as ideal of a situation as uh, you laid out, and you were right in saying that forming a connection with someone in a detached environment like a trek, that's not really going to be representative of the longevity of this friendship that you're looking at. So I guess it the friendship gets defined from experiences, and I'm a strong believer that life will throw experiences at you that will filter people in and out of your life, that will teach you basic lessons in the form of people coming into your life. So basic experiences like your friend in case of a disagreement with others, having to stand by you, having to explain to you what is right or wrong. I think experiences really forge such bonds of friendship.
Okay, so on the context of upbringing in the same prism, uh, you seem to have a solid sense of values of some kind. We will not get into the definition of values per se, but see the ability to look at the long term more often than not. Uh, how much of a role has upbringing played in your case? One, and if it has, would you be able to define what sort of things inspired you to stand by negotiating values?
So I've been thankful to have parents who lead by example and not merely lead by rhetoric. So I've had a stronger sense of values and a stronger sense of who I am and what I need to pursue by looking at what my parents have done rather than just hearing them speak. To cite a personal example, my own mother, she she initially pursued science. She did her BSc and her MSc in biochemistry, but she soon did come to realize that uh, she actually gained happiness in teaching and in contributing to society by especially tending to children with special learning needs. So and she pursued this after her marriage and after having had two children, and with juggling the responsibilities that came as a mother and as a housewife, she did still manage to pursue her passion, and she led by example, uh, by showing how, despite having all these responsibilities at home, she pursued distance education and she got degrees in special education and in counseling and teaching children with special needs. So looking at that growing up, uh, rather than any moral story or uh, any dogmas that my parents tried to imbibe within me, looking at the example of my mother, despite all the odds, standing up for what made her happy is what instilled values within me more strongly than ever.
Um, if you have contrarian examples in other friends whom you've had and their parenting, or um, how have you viewed it? Have you viewed yourself as just plain lucky, or have you judged them? Have you enlarged your point of view to seeing all kinds of people make the world? What is your particular point of view with people who have challenging parents, people uh, who have drinking issues or who have monetary issues, and they've been working very hard and they are not available for their kids, people who are addicted to work, which is a present generation thing for us. uh, how would you how would you perceive that lack of balance? How did you rather?
It it is indeed an interesting point because while saying so, I need to acknowledge that I am actually lucky and privileged to have parents who understand my point of view, and I've had friends whose parents have been doctors, and they have been, whether or not in accordance with their wishes, been forced into a career in medicine, and it's also been guided, as you said, by several economic considerations where if your parents are dentists, they've invested a great deal in the clinic and the infrastructure that comes with buying dental equipment, and they wouldn't want uh, your children to be pursuing something else, and for all that hard work invested to be going to someone else. So there is there are have been friends whose parents have insisted by citing economic examples with regards to investment in the clinic that you need to be taking over. But I've also observed that such friends, despite having no other choice but to comply with their parents' wishes, have also indulged in certain hobbies and have taken time out. They manage their time well, indulged in hobbies in sports that make them genuinely happy.
Okay. I think, yeah, this is for now. I would want to sit and mull over this happiness pit a lot more. The value of it, as long as you're clear about, uh, there is a sense of bearing a sense of groundedness that your parents seem to have, that has networked itself into you. To a larger extent, we are either very lucky to have you on the show or very unlucky that we did not have um, conflicting points being made. But it's certainly a very, very heartening thing for specifically me, since it's the first time I'm being exposed to you, that there is somebody from the generation who is able to distance oneself uh, and yet hold on to the grounding that one has been given. Uh, at some point, I think we could have a couple of you on the show, uh, 3 or 4 of you with differing points of view to figure out what are the inherent challenges that your generation faces, and they come up with perhaps better questions on pragmatic issues, what they would call pragmatic issues. Um, Sujata, anything else that you think you would want to cover at this point in time?
No, I do have a couple of questions, but I think I'm assuming we will have more discussions with Anant in our journey. I'll probably save it for then. Yeah. But for now, I think my takeaway today is right and duty towards one's own happiness. So that's
Yeah,
my start.
yeah,
Absolutely nailed it really well. So thank you for that, Anant.
Thank
yeah.
you.
I think when he started, I thought it was too premature of you to jump onto it, but I think his inherent thread hasn't changed
No.
throughout the entire podcast, and which is very interesting. It's very rare that one stumbles upon this aspect. And yeah, kudos to you, and we wish you all the success.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us today.